Following footsteps, unlighted room, feeling the cold, feeling the gloom. Voices are speaking, around the candy way, bodies unkept, horrible display.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of the Sunday Spin. I'm Ricardo Montalban. With me to my left is my man that I can always make laugh on a Sunday, G Money. The plane.
I'm Hervé Velichess, baby.
There you go, baby.
Exactly. Oh, that was a great intro there. Takes me back to Saturday night, 10 p.m., right after the Love Boat.
Right after the Love Boat. That's right. I was about to say I'm Gopher, though.
It was the one night my parents would let me stay up, Ben. Oh, man. Welcome to the Sunday Spin, everybody. Oh, my gosh. We're going to have so much fun today. Before we do that, Vinny, though, let's give some love to the people that we love so much that make this show extra special. That's the people at Grooves Records in San Francisco, and they're up and running, by the way. Go up and go check them out, Bay Area. Also go on Discogs. What's Left Records. We're going to hear a little bit more about them later on in the show. A little special thing going on this week with the Sunday Spin over there. And then, gosh, just the whole crew, everybody on Anonymous Collective. And I think it's a great way to intro, Vinny, that one of the most integral people of the last few years is a guy that's in the house right now, Mr. Brock Smith, musician, artist extraordinaire, comedian, podcaster, and Yankee fan. What's up, my brother? How are you? Good to see you.
Good. How are you guys doing this Sunday?
Holy cow. Yeah, fabulous. No, right. We do love the hat, Brock. Yeah, welcome to the Spin. Yeah, very well put, G. You know, Brock is one of those guys that is indispensable for his sheer brilliance in so many areas. And we're going to delve on that. But before we go a second further, Brock did the artwork on 66, and we couldn't have been more pleased with how it all came out. So, Brock, thank you.
You guys have the ideas, and I just put them on paper for you. So,
well, we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, there's no just to it, baby. There's so much vision behind what you do, and Vinny, maybe later on you can kind of open up the package and you can show the just the whole essence of what.
Oh, hell no! People got to buy it, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
True. I wanted to see that picture of us on the inside. It's just one of my.
Oh yeah, it's Motley. Stay tuned. Yeah.
Exactly. But Brock, man, we're just so excited to have you. And again, like I said, Anonymous Collective would not be anything that we are without you. You've helped us with the vision. You've helped us with the branding. You've put music out on the label. You've done so much, but then we gotta start from the beginning, as always.
Always, yeah.
Let's reel it way back, my friend. And first recollections of music that you loved, or the first, anything musical that just started your world, and I know it rocked your world. So how did that
For me, right? For me?
Absolutely.
Oh man, I lived in a non-musical house. We had 3 records. They were all Kenny Loggins soundtracks and a record player that didn't work. You know what I mean? So
good thing.
We had top 40 radio on the weekends whenever my mom would clean the house. So she'd have it blaring, on our in Amarillo station Z93 at loudest possible volume, so hearing that pop rock and then watching things like American Bandstand and everything like that. Those are my musical memories, but I never really was affected by music until I was, junior high, really. I just started paying attention, and I had, the tape deck or the little cassettes deal that you carry around, so. And they were so cumbersome. You couldn't put them in a pocket. You had to get those Case Logic things. So you'd have all your tapes in there because you might want to listen to one song. but I still really wasn't into music until, I don't know, I think it had to have been like Jimi Hendrix. I watched Wayne's World, and that changed everything. I was like, who is that, right? What is that song that Garth is dancing to? And then bought the soundtrack. And I think everybody goes through like a soundtrack phase, you know what I mean? And that was the first kind of a deal. I think there's different ages that you hit different kinds of music. Like you always have, you know, in your very first formative years, it's whatever's like bubblegum, you know, whatever's handy. It's right there. It's Paula Abdul. You know, you have that when you're a kid because it sticks with you, you know, and you see it on MTV, you see it on everything. They even took MTV off the air in my hometown back in the day because they thought it was very offensive. But then they brought, yeah, it was weird. I think we were one of the only people that they took it off of, which is strange. So, but yeah, that's my first. I would say Kenny Loggins is like the first, like real, like I could feel the Footloose. You know what I mean?
Oh, my sympathies.
I know, right?
Absolutely. But you know, to imagine, Greno, could you imagine not having MTV? I mean,
I know, it's
wow,
so
you
odd.
Know, that really truly is. And you know, Snooki, I apologize in advance for, but. Did the townsfolk just find it too submissive or dangerous, or what was the thinking?
If you kind of like make a fake Bible Belt, I guess Amarillo was like the buckle, and I mean they have the world's largest cross, you know, 15 miles outside of town. I mean, it's surrounded by 9 other crosses. I mean, it's a very you can go to any neighborhood and there's at least 3 churches in it. I mean that, and then we had the most strip clubs per capita as well. So you can kind of see how it was hypocritical, and it was all about, you know, football is West Texas. So
right.
We weren't really into that stuff. And then along came somebody like Stanley Marsh. I don't know if you've ever heard of that guy. Stanley Marsh 3. He's the guy that buried the Cadillacs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the desert, right?
Yeah, and they were really big artists. They were a big artist collection, and that kind of ended really, really weird. But he was, I mean, there was a lot of people there that was doing art and playing music. And then, of course, you know, you had the Brian Deneke getting run over in the parking lot of the mall that I used to go to. And it was like, I was in high school whenever that happened, you know, so that's whenever I was getting into punk rock and things like that, you know, just I had gone through my adolescence of Led Zeppelin and Hendrix, and I was getting a little bit more into something. And the first time somebody played me the Misfits, I was like, holy shit. And then, but you could tell who like really understood music if you brought something that was odd to them, and they're like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. You know, like Devo the first time. Somebody played Smart Patrol, Mr. DNA, and I was like, this is God's gift to music. I mean, what is this? First time I heard Glenn Danzig, and it was weird because it was what was that one where he redid everything on it?
Legacy of Brutality.
Yep, where he went through it, and he sounded like Elvis throughout the whole thing, singing through a tin can, and it was so bitchin'. Like I brought it over to my friend's house, and they're all playing basketball, and they're like, what is this crap? And then you know, later on I moved to Florida for a little bit, and I witnessed I don't know how to put this, probably the biggest rock and roll god of all time, Iggy Pop, in a small club. It was his first record that he produced on his own label. It was for Beat 'Em Up, and you felt confined because I was on the second, and I got the videotape of it. It's weird. I don't know how I got that. And I got the poster too. That's what inspired me for everything, and that changed my life. seeing Iggy Pop, and I got to touch him too because he was crowd surfing, so I was like almost blessed in a way.
Did he have peanut butter on his chest when you touched him? That's my question.
And it was just like, and he got down and he kind of was looking around and he ran away, and I was like, oh my God, that's Iggy Pop. The Stooges hit me. You know, whenever I hit the Stooges, holy shit, right? But my world even got better because of Queens of the Stone Age. And also Lust for Life, that you have to hit that in your early 20s to understand who you are. I don't know. It's weird. And then you got The Idiot. Holy shit. Those two records together in sequence are like, that is, again, it's a rock god saying, hey, you know what? This is pretty good. Why don't you check it out? Every one of those songs is like it. I mean, it makes the hair raise in the back of my neck because it's so fucking great, every bit of it. And then I got to see him at the Ellie Calkins Opera House whenever he was touring for the post-pop depression. So for one, Josh Homme, you know, and then two, Iggy Pop. And it was just as loud as being in that little club. You couldn't hear afterwards. Fucking amazing. I think Iggy Pop is one of the most. I think he's the greatest actual rock and roll dude ever, but yet he's the most looked over. Look at his contributions from the beginning. I mean, he was playing drums, and like we were talking earlier about Chicago, he went to Chicago to play drums with all the blues guys.
Yeah.
And then came back and said, let's do our own thing. And then he got the Ashton brothers, and he got home dude, Williams.
Alexander.
Yeah. Dave Alexander. And I was listening to yesterday, what was it? Funhouse, and listening to his freaking bass lines. Jesus Christ. You know, and at that point, nobody I knew that, I guess that's my point to this whole story. Nobody knew in my hometown the Stooges at all. I came back to a party one time and I was like, you got to listen to this. Everybody's got to listen to this. And they were just like, okay. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This Funhouse is the greatest rock and roll record of all time. You know, I mean, that is pure unadulterated rock and roll.
It's in my top 10 for sure.
It's fucking brutal.
It's timeless. I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, you're talking about understated Iggy. You know, it's probably because of the humble beginnings, just of the band. The band, you know, was revisited more, you know, and revered much later. You know, once people like, you know, that they influenced came out, especially your Johnny Ramones and your, you know, people, all the Ramones, people like that.
The Dictators.
Yeah, but that's a great point, Brock. It's fantastic, man.
You know, him basically Bowie winning the Grammy for China Girl, which was much later than it actually came out. And then I don't know if this is true or not, but didn't Iggy accept the award? And whenever he was up there, he's like, "Well, I didn't know I wrote a hit song in 1977." So it's
truly, and a lot of people, I guarantee you, 98% of the people who were fans of that record had no clue to the history behind it. But that's MTV for you, and that's another story.
Right. It was Bowie's world with that too. And I mean, it was supposed to be a trilogy, but when you think about it, blah blah blah. When it came out for Crocodile Dundee, I guess you know what I mean? It was like the title track for that. You knew it, but when you listen to that record, you're like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. Like New Values and all the in-between records were great. But I really think he has, whenever Post-Pop Depression came out, that was a perfect bookend to The Idiot, Lust for Life, and then that. And those three records in a row, as many years as they passed, each other. And so you bring in somebody that was influenced by that record in 77 to come make music with him in 2015, all under secret. And they created, again, just another magical record, I'm going to say magic a lot, but to me, that's what it is. And that's Iggy Pop, Iggy Pop, that's, I don't know, the first Black Flag record. Come on, 5 minutes. And literally, I could just sit there and listen to it over and over again. There's just so many different things about good music, Suicide, things like that. When I graduated more into music and then hearing things like Suicide and thinking, this is mine, who else knows this? Who else knows who Suicide is, Alan Vega. What is this? So you kind of grab those things because everybody's got Zeppelin. Everybody's got Sabbath. Everybody's got Hendrix, but Suicide, it's like, okay, that's put somewhere that is another echelon of music and another echelon of pure art. I think they're really technically the only real, and I may sound stupid saying this, but they're pretty much the only real punk rock band, real deal, not giving a shit, but they stayed together. Now the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, and they played, the sped up Chuck Berry riffs, and they wrote great songs, especially the Ramones. But when it comes to just art, I would have to say that Suicide is probably one of the, if not with Iggy Pop, the most influential. Because both of those put together, you wouldn't have modern music. No Iggy, no Suicide, nothing. We'd still have pop still.
I don't think you could have said it any better, Brock. It's very astute, and smoke's coming out of my ears. You've blown my mind. But one thing I do want to delve into with you a little bit is I'm hearing fantastic homage to certain areas of the nation. And I want to delve into that a little bit, because when you talk about Iggy, you're talking about Detroit punk rock.
Yes.
When you talk about the Dictators, you're talking NYC all the way. I mean, Handsome Dick is, he could run for mayor of Brooklyn and win.
Right.
Shout out to our buddy, right? But punk rock has always been about regions. And, we had it in LA, the trickle over, the Little Sister effect. We were very lucky that San Diego had a very burgeoning dichotomy in terms of punk rock because of throwback. There was definitely always a throwback scene, and that road was laid out long before Glenn and I started picking up instruments and being in bands. Right. So nostalgia has always been part of it, but I'd love to hear about some of the British punk bands that you like, because we're really right in the same areas geography as far as United States punk goes. But what about your taste in English punk?
I really like the Damned, and they've kind of they've really blossomed for me in the last couple of years. And I never really got into it because a lot of the punk rock is you see a lot of advertisements for everything, I guess, people wearing shirts with it and shit, But the Damned, I don't know, they were great musicians. Whenever you listen to them play, it's not like maybe not like the X-Ray Specs or something like that, where they were just like, here, let's go. Anything from that time period, even, oh God, what was the female band?
The Slits?
Yes. The Slits were completely like awesome too, and there were so many people.
He loved the Slits. Talk about Damned and Slits, vastly underrated.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Continue, sir. Continue.
No, besides, kind of, again, just a lot of surface stuff. I'm digging into it more and more every year, and I'll find something and I'm like, what the hell is that? And it is, oh, holy shit. That's been out for 30 years.
And the reason I brought it up, Brock, is because really, I'm sure the situation is verbatim the same as for Greno as it is for me because of our backgrounds. But aside from vaguely hearing Clash songs, you did not hear English punk rock in any way, shape, or form until Steve West and 91X came along.
Yeah.
So we were a few years behind as well, really. We weren't catching on to groups like The Jam or The Brilliance of Elvis Costello or any of that. We were getting the watered down MTV Flock of Seagulls crap first.
Yeah.
And it took a while for it to filter through. We were like, wow, you know? I mean, especially Jam and the Clash. You're like, okay, there's more to this band than, you know, Casbah rock.
Yeah, and that was the cool part about the Clash is because it's still the cool part about it because you listen to Strummer, and Strummer he's the truth. Whatever he says is the fucking absolute truth. He didn't pull any punches in just basically, you know, saying what he wanted to say, and then he had a group behind him that could fucking play their asses off. You know, I mean, it was like, hey, we've had enough, and what are we going to do about it? They eventually became kind of more of almost an American band, you know. I mean, more Americans jumped on the Clash than anywhere else. I think I'm probably wrong, but
no, I mean, how can you argue with a 3-week residency in New York?
Right.
How about? I mean, come on, for an band, it's unparalleled the things they did.
Oh, and you're
spot on.
Yeah, you think about everything that they were absorbing there too, right? So they didn't just come over and just kind of hang out and play. They were in it, you know? So you have rap music, right? The beginnings of rap music, and that was punk rock too in a way. You know, you had house parties. You had people, you know, just bringing a record. And then you have people like Ramel Z, that was the musician, the artist. Oh my God, he was everything. He was a theater. He did everything. Like, he was probably one of the baddest dudes to ever live, right? And he was rapping, spray painting on trains, doing things like that, and nobody knows who that guy is either.
Hey, you know? No one knows. I mean, a lot of the Stu do, but Cool Herc, man, my man, I got to shout out. I mean, come on, that's the DJ itself would not be what it is today without that man.
I mean, it's just, and then the Clash going over there and absorbing it, and then you got Mick. He did his own. What was their band?
Big Audio Dynamite.
Yeah. I mean, even that was different too, and you're like, holy shit.
As was the Mescaleros, really, though, which was Drummer's band after the Clash. Different, but all great in their own way. And
holy crap, yeah.
Instinctive of the men in the band, I would say, as well.
Streetcore is hands down one of the best kind of a records just to put on and listen to. There's only a couple of parts where it kind of goes on a little bit, but he died during the production. So he didn't really get to cut a lot of stuff, you know? Right. Strummer was living out there too. I mean, he was going out there doing stuff, and then he would just make friends with whoever and say, "Hey, you want to come over and play music?" Because he had that dry spell from the end of the Clash until like what was that, earthquake weather, you know? And it was still not kind of that. And then he came back with the Mescaleros, and they fucking killed it, you know? They had a hit on the first record.
The tragedy of the Clash, if there is a tragedy of the Clash, is that their fans did not want them to succeed in the manner that they succeeded, and it ultimately killed the band, which was a damn travesty, in my opinion, because if there was any band that didn't deserve it, it was the Clash, just because they never shucked their beliefs the entire time, still made it, still were able to, you know, sell out Shea Stadium and open for The Who. But the people that had been following them, the diehard fans, were like, you guys were a sellout. Well, if every band that succeeds is a sellout, then I guess the Clash were a sellout. But I didn't see it that way. G, I defer. What your opinion?
No, they didn't really ever sell out. They were a rock and roll band, you know, the whole time. Even the first album is, again, punk and stuff. But like, you see these other bands, just like the Damned. You know, Damn is a punk classic, but you go to Music for Pleasure, you know, the Black Album, Strawberries. Come on, this is unconventional. This is going into goth and psychedelic, and I mean, one track, you know, or that Silly Kids Games is, you know, almost Beach Boys like, and things like that. So, you know, but I want to bring up a point to both of you guys. It's something I've been thinking about to kind of tie a lot of what we've been talking about together. is the Damned touring, the first English band to tour in the United States. And again, you know, a tour in 1976 for an English band, it's not like, oh, 60 cities, 50, you know, literally it's like New York, Chicago, LA. And I just want to bring that up. Like, that was a significant tour. You wouldn't have the band, you know, a band like TSOL or these bands that kind of were influenced by the Damned touring. What are your thoughts on that? And just how, again, music always, you know, these continents crisscross every which way and influence each other just kind of incessantly.
That's the best part.
Yeah. If you're asking me, I think there really is a 10-year plan to these kind of things. Frankly, the invasions, if you will. We saw it in the 60s. We saw it in the 70s in punk rock. And we saw it in the 80s in whatever manner you want to call it, new wave or what have you. But yeah, I mean, kids are dressing English, talking British, wearing Union Jack flags, the whole bit. That's never going to go away because the general idea of the British sound comes directly from pain and misgiving in a lot of cases for generations. You can't fake struggle. You can't fake class or power. There's something about the British spirit of rock and roll, especially do-it-yourself punk rock, that is always going to resonate in the heart of a 16-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And that's never going to change. I hope it doesn't change in my lifetime because it's beautiful.
Oh, that you're, like you said, I mean, it's just, it resonates as young as that, sometimes even younger, if like an older sibling's like, hey, check this out, you know, like it was in the 50s, you know. I mean, you go back and you look at, like, just say John Fogerty, right? Fogerty learned all that stuff from, you know, the old blues records, Stax, everything like that, right? And he was playing something completely different than what was going on at the time. You know, it's that cross-pollination. You know, you have people from all these different regions just like picking up something and being like, oh, maybe I really like this. And it's that this is my stuff. Nobody else knows about it. You know, I've been collecting this stuff for a while. So that influences you. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I first started playing music, that's all I learned was punk rock. I mean, you know, Misfit songs and, you know, Sepultura, things like that, right? So really,
yeah, we weren't playing MacArthur Park, no, obviously, right? Yeah, it was simple, right? Hey, you know, you heard a Kinks song and you go, we can figure that out.
Right.
Yeah, we can figure that out. No, absolutely.
When I started, there was we had the big tab thing. It was there. Everything was accessible. So the cool part about that is you could be like, oh man, I want to learn that. It was wrong. Every piece of tab that you got was wrong, but it put you on the right path for it. And then you picked up those habits of how you learn. And that's one thing that I still notice that I still do to this day is a lot of the same mannerisms, the same way I play, everything was from whenever I started playing. It's so crazy. But they're those first records, those first Misfits records and things like that, doing the downstroke, you know, and people are like, why don't you double pick? And you're like, fucking, this is how I learned.
Right. It leads us to wrapping everything up in a big, wide, earth-shaped Brock Smith ball. Droppedculture.com, brother. Tell us all about it.
Drop Culture, kind of, it was, we started at the tail end of Dangerous Days. And yeah, we were in the jam room. It was a transitional period. We would go into the jam room and we would record for like 3-4 hours. What? I mean, it was ridiculous, right? We didn't put out a single episode for a year. We waited. By the time we put out an episode for it, we already had our chemistry down. It was just like it was just like playing music, you know? It was just that way. We didn't want to be perfect or anything like that, but we just wanted it to be a little bit more natural. And Drop Culture turned into Dangerous Days, and it rolled into that part of it. And it very much is the same because you get into rhythm with people, just like with your show, you know. You guys have that rhythm, you have that chemistry, you have the friendship, and it just kind of, I don't know, you just find the kindred spirits, and then everything's like that. And it's easy, and it's fun. Why not?
Yeah, we didn't practice for a year, though, did we, G?
No, man.
No, we don't have that long left, right? Retirement's looming its eerie head over all of us.
We had to get moving,
right?
Well, with Drop Culture too, the name Dan came up with the name, Dan Triple. He's the other host on there. When he came up with it, it was like, holy shit, that is perfect. It's all this stuff that was forgotten but was big at one point, and then check this out. Like we've done episodes about CCR, we've done episodes about the Velvet Underground, we've done movies, all kinds of movies. We had one of the last episodes we did was The Fly. We did The Fly 1958 and then The Fly 1986.
Awesome.
We have different series. We have 2 podcasts a week. So the first one is just us bullshitting and just kind of just talking for an hour, instead of putting that on another episode. So we call it our quick cast, which is, it's not quick at all. And then and then we get into on Thursday's our main episode, and that's where we kind of put a little work into it. And it's just so fun, everybody that I've met from this, and it's just, since now you can record everything by yourself and you don't have to have all this fancy equipment, and you meet so much more people. The borders are opening up a little bit more because of the internet, in the past 30 years since it's really been going. It's still not there as far as I would think as far as the good communication going on, people learning from a lot of things. It's still more about, how can I piss somebody off?
And that's what we love. That's what I love about the podcast, honestly. It's one of the more clever podcasts out there, in my opinion. It's also very thorough. I mean, really, there is no facet that's not spoken of if you listen to the show enough weeks in a row. It really is like a Trivial Pursuit board on a weekly podcast. And I've been a fan for a long time now. I want to congratulate you. Very, very important part of the show, because we are a little over. I want you to get your shout outs, Brock, because, a lot of us really owe you so much for what you've done for us. What you've done for the Mulligans, the artwork, your work with Dangerous Days, the podcast, all the advice with the network. We're really grateful, but I'm sure you have some people you want to thank as well. And we want to give you that opportunity right now, brother.
I mean, honestly, the first thing is I'm humbled by your comments. Every time somebody says that's really good, I'm like, oh man, I don't take compliments very well, but at the same time, you guys I owe it all to you for giving me a shot. Come on, Glenn. The first time, whenever you asked me that one time, saying, "Hey, you want to do our record cover?" Holy shit, yes.
Yeah, talent can't be denied, though. We knew what we were getting.
And it was the same. It was the same way with, posters. Somebody's like, "Hey, would you do a poster for me?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Yes, I will. Let me see what I could do." And it's just I enjoy it, and I owe everything to everybody that's given me a chance.
Man, if you can make those 2 ugly guys look good, right? That's nothing more needs to be said, right? Faces only a mother could love, and they're not too thrilled themselves.
It's accomplished.
I guess the actual pivotal person in anything that I ever do is I always want to. It's my wife. She will not hold back. She'll tell me, "Hey, you're bullshit," or "Hey, that's stupid," and or be like, "Oh yeah, that's good," and I'm like, "Oh shit, oh well, you know what? I gotta push myself a little bit further," because I'm telling you, 100%, she's like the coolest person in the world, and she makes me want to aspire to be cool like that. You know what I mean? She's like cooler than Kim Deal, how I always say. And it's just having somebody that won't, I don't know, pull any punches at all. It's nice because I'll paint something, right, and I'll come inside and I'll be like, hey, do you want to take? She's like, whatever. You know? She goes out and looks at it. She's like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. I'm like,
In all honesty, brother, you know, I mean, directness is so important because my honest opinion is I think if more people were told the true measure of the merits of their work, boy, we'd have a lot more humble people.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there that have been told they're too good for too long.
Yeah, well, and you know, at first maybe because I think everybody runs into that. They look at I don't know, people's first movies. Great, usually some of the best things that they've ever done. My opinion, Quentin Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs, best thing they ever did. Right? Okay, now you look at it. Yeah, it's more diverse. It looks better scripts, things like that, but it's not as good. You know, first records from a lot of people. Then when you hit that second record, if you do something like Weezer did on their second album for Pinkerton, holy shit. And it was hidden for years. And then when you picked it up, you're like, holy shit, they quit. It's those things. It's growing from that. And I mean, with all my influences, it kind of comes from those Iggy Pop shows. It comes from playing in at the Golden Light Cantina, you know, when nobody else would show up. So we'd play for weeks in a row, you know, every Thursday night, not caring about anything and just really enjoying the moments, which I don't think a lot of people do that anymore. So I owe anything to every single person that I've ever met, every single person that has ever affected me in some way, and every person that has given me anything, you know, any kind of shot. I wouldn't be where I am because, you know, I'd probably be sitting in my room by myself eating potato chips or something.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to go, but we're glad you're here, Brock.
Yeah. And you guys, you guys,
right?
Yeah, you guys honestly, you know, being so cool and let me do this stuff. I appreciate every second that I get to do something, you know. I might not be the fastest sometimes, which I kind of need to get it better at, but I love it. You know, I love being like, well, let's try this idea, you know, and having somebody that's like, oh, that would be really cool. Try and think.
You know, it's important to us too, because, you know, we don't want people hidden behind the scenes, Brock. I mean, your efforts have been incredible. And, you know, we're so glad that we got to share some time with you. 30 minutes is never enough with you, my brother. So we're going to do this again really, really soon, I'm sure.
That would be
in the meantime, you know, I'm going to be bothering you for things, right? But in the meantime, just know how much we all appreciate you, Brock.
I mean, I appreciate everything
brother,
from you guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. Wow. Very good stuff here on the Sunday Spin.
He never fails, does he? That's our Brock. Yeah, he's an all-star. Well done, sir.
Speaking of, we got the All-Star game coming up in a couple days. I'm going with the National League myself.
And I won't be watching. Can tell you I won't be watching.
What about you, Vin?
I won't be watching. Tell us where you're going to be, because my man G is going to be making a rare appearance in the 719. So you get to see my man G Money in person. I'm going to let you tell him about it right now, G.
Yeah, come check me out next Saturday out What's Left Records in Colorado Springs. I'll be working over there from 1 to 7. It's Record Store Day, and you can pick up the new Skinny Mulligans 1966. And a bunch of other local music from Colorado Springs that they sell over there that's really rad. They have like jewelry, they have metal, punk, classical, jazz, proto, every kind of music you can imagine. And they're really cool, but they won't be there. They're the Ostro Brothers. I'll be there. My name is Greno, and you've been checking out the Sunday Spin, brought to you every single week, Vinny, by our buddy Grooves Records, Mr. San Francisco, Kevin Chanel, And also, again, the aforementioned What's Left Records. Again, Skinny Mulligans, killer artwork by our friend Brock Smith, who's been tantalizing us with his Iggy Pop anecdotes and a bunch of other great stuff today. Brock, yeah, we'll definitely have you back. Before I forget, 2 things. Happy birthday to my wonderful stepfather, Mr. Eddie Lindros, who's 50 years old today. He's younger than me. How's that possible? But no,
he's a walking machine. That's how it's possible. I see him walking all the time. Keep up the good work, Eddie. Poway loves you. 6'4" legend, right?
There you go. And then also next week, CJ Hackett from Prefab Soul, anonymous collective artist. And also he does a band called Bad Night for a Hero. Vinny, I got to give a shout out to you. I watched a lot of sports this weekend. And Italy won the cup. It was
it's not like I haven't heard, right? Tony Russo. Congratulations, Paisano. Yeah.
So to you guys, and then
isn't it?
To my boy Novak Djokovic, won his 20th Grand Slam title, now tied with Nadal and Federer. So the big 3, man, 60 between them. But, man, you guys stay sexy. We'll be back next week. As always, the Sunday Spin. We're going to have brand new intro music for you guys next week. So stay tuned.
Buy more records. Supporting the music, right?
Check out
reasons right here.
Check out the dopeness of droppedculture.com. Killer website, podcast, artwork, everything that you can imagine. Oh, merch. We didn't even get into that. But if you go onto his merch, we'll have that up next time. But what's the real quick to say what it is?
Well, there's dropculture.com. There's a Skeletons of Memory on all of the social networks.
Yes, sir.
And then also if you go to Redbubble, that's under the Skeletons of Memory. So I got a lot of different stuff on there. I need to update some stuff, put some Sunday Spin stuff on there. But there's record covers. There's all kinds of stuff on there you can get on T-shirts. So Redbubble, Skeletons of Memory. Look for the shaman.
Booyah. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Stay sexy. It's going to be an awesome week. 20th wedding anniversary, and Roxy turned 17. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.